But in this game against UTSA, it was like we mentioned, all three phases just weren't doing enough to be able to help the other phase out and really get things going. It begs the question now with, you know, the playoffs out of the question, the AAC title game, very unlikely, really. A lot of things have to go. We were already saying a lot of things had to go their way before this loss. Now, a lot of things have to go this way. Is this the most disappointing season in Memphis football recent history?
Well, you'd have to go back to probably the best season in Memphis football history. In 2019, everybody remembers Brady White. They had Calvin Austin. They lose to Temple, still go to the Cotton Bowl, lose big to Penn State, but that's a huge deal for this program. And then the next year in 2020, they go 8-3, 5-3 in the conference, and the Montgomery Bowl, which it looks like Memphis would be happy with the Montgomery Bowl at this point this year. That was Brady White's last year. It's very similar to this. That team, I would say, it was still less talented. They had a couple guys. You talk about Jannard Avery on defense, who had a very decent career in the NFL. They had a few more guys defensively. But overall, this defense, with the transfers that they've been able to pull in, I think is more talented. The wide receiver core, what we've seen from Demir Blankenship and Rock Taylor, that all combined, I would say it's pretty close. You got to look and see, like, how good that Memphis team was in 2020, and then to lose 3 games all in the conference, it was disappointing. It was a shoo-in that they were going to go to the conference tournament. That was, as you know, teams no tournament. Yeah, no tournament. No tournament. The conference championship. That was when teams like Cincinnati were leaving, right? Sure. So it was still really solid, and they were, I would say, head and shoulders better, more talented. I think we're splitting hairs here. This is not even their floor. They could still go lower than this. So, yeah, I think if they lost one more game this season, period, it would probably be the most disappointing season. I mean, you're wasting Seth Hennigan's last year. Who knows what Seth Hennigan's going to go on to be, you know? Seth Hennigan goes into the league, gets on a practice squad somewhere, works his way up. You never know. You look at how many quarterbacks. This year, it's a little bit different in the NFL. A lot of teams have their quarterback. Last year, man, like, as an Atlanta Falcons fan, you saw several different quarterbacks. A lot of bad
quarterback play for my Falcons.
And there's been several teams like that. You never know. So you're wasting the talent of someone like this. And that's why, what I said earlier, the one-dimensional game plan is just so frustrating. This team could be way more creative than they are now. I've never been an offensive coordinator, so it may be more, not so one-dimensional than I'm making it out to be. But yeah, if they will lose one more game, I would say it's the most disappointing season in recent history in Memphis football.
You talk about Seth Hennigan in particular, the only 4-year starter still at his own school in the entire country. Mm-hmm. You have a guy who basically, that they have called almost a coach on the field, an offensive coordinator on the field, a guy that they're not worried about. And you make an excellent point. Mario Anderson, we talked to him last week, right, where he said, my one goal is to get Seth into an AAC championship game. Right. And it's looking slimmer and slimmer and slimmer, like they're not going to be able to do that because of what this season has turned out to be. And it's really disappointing. To your question of, is it the most disappointing? I think it is, because they came into the season with more hype than I think we've seen in a long time, even after that 2019 season, because of what was potentially at stake, the college football playoff, right? You had Nick Saban on College Game Day saying, Memphis State's going to potentially be in the college football playoff, and now you're looking at we don't know what bowl. Certainly not the one that you want to be in. You don't know if you're going to be in the AAC championship game. So much has to happen, but let's put it into context. So much has to happen, but it can still happen, right? There's the guys who are ahead of you in the standings, Army, Navy, and Tulane, can all potentially lose 2 games to end the year, and maybe you're right there in the mix, depending on how heads-to-head goes. More likely than not, it's not realistic. It's probably not going to happen. And so, yeah, I would say this is incredibly disappointing and probably the most disappointing season because of what was at stake. You're picked to win the league. You don't get into the college football playoff as far as we know right now. And you got everybody looking at you like, oh, this is same old Memphis, right? So, disappointing.
I had this chance, obviously, to talk to Ryan earlier today in his usual press conference on a Monday, and I asked him, I said, if you guys don't make the playoffs and if you don't make the AAC title game, do you consider this season a failure? And this is what he had to say in part.
The 2 games are failures, and on me, and I've got to be better with that. But I'm going to withhold judgment on whether saying the season is a failure, because we got a lot of football left. And what kind of head coach would I be if I said, hey, the season's a failure, but let's go play football? That's BS. So we've got a lot of football left to be played, a lot of pride. And guess what? We don't know. the crazier things have happened. We finished 8-6 twice here in my tenure as an assistant, and we went to championship games. You know, and I get 7-2 is not good enough, and that's 100% on me. And we're gonna work and hopefully win this next game, and that's all we can do is focus on that. And then when the season's in, we'll look up and see, and then have the conversations of if we didn't achieve the goals we set out to, then sure, it wasn't good enough. But at this point, all I can do is focus on the race.
Yeah, so really interesting kind of comments from him. He knows 7-2 isn't good enough, and he's saying those 2 games that they've lost are failures. But like he mentioned, still a long season to go. And I kind of said that in my question that I asked him, because if we take a look at these standings now in the AAC, you can see that, okay, yes, it's a tough, very tough path for Memphis to get there, but Navy did have their first loss on the weekend to Rice.
Got a gift.
Yeah, to Rice, who Memphis are now playing this Friday. And that's, to me, actually what makes the game sting more, like the loss to UTSA, is that if Memphis had won that game, the path to the AAC title game with Navy's loss coming later that day was made so much easier. But now it's like, guys, you had your chance and you blew it. There is still a chance, but it's slim.
Certainly so. So we'll see what they can do on Friday.